Okay, we are live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 140 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. I am Haim Cohen, and we have Tom here. As you may notice, I am in finally my office. It only took 9 months, but my office is there. It's pretty bare. We're going to have some cool things over here, like all the degrees and all the whiteboards and some math and maybe some security. Maybe I'll put my PGP key there, but that's what's going on. So I'm happy about that. Tom, any new news?
There's a lot of news hitting. And the first thing is a general PSA. If you run a WordPress site, please run your updates. WordPress auto updates today, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's kind of a nasty bug that's being exploited in the wild.
So as we do that, I'm going to go to the In30 site and do that.
All of the updates.
Again, it's the reason WordPress, and by the way, this is if it's not hosted on WordPress. I think if you're, which I never realized, I didn't realize for a while that WordPress hosted sites got updates, but not self-hosted sites.
Well, the self-hosted sites now do auto updates within reason. They only do like minor updates automatically. Major updates won't take. It'll have to prompt you. You'll have to hit a button for it. This is a minor patch update, so it should take place automatically, but you can make it go a little faster if you hit the button yourself. But yeah, if you host on WordPress.com, totally automatic. You don't have to hit anything.
Apparently, we've been updated, so okay.
Cool. Automatic updates. Gotta love
we
them.
are safe for another week, another day.
Another couple hours at least.
Yeah. Okay, what else? So the initial topic we were going to talk about Wednesday was what Vizio did. So if you don't know what Vizio did, they installed on their smart TVs some sort of tracking software that got just about everything your TV can possibly get through you.
Yeah, this was huge. The FTC ended up suing Vizio and winning, and Vizio deserves every amount of bad luck that happens to them with this. They updated all of their new smart TVs and their old smart TVs, a couple models. I will make sure to link the show notes here so you can figure out if you are affected or not. The good news is Vizio is going to take this out and turn this off and prompt you before they spy on you. But what made this so egregious is it wasn't just the normal tracking stuff of, hey, if you launch a Vizio app, we're going to go ahead and track usage data on that, sell you ads against it. It was they were watching literally every image that scrolled on your TV. So even if you were playing stuff through like an Apple TV or a Roku or Chromecast, they would collect that data and sell that to advertisers. But it gets even worse. They would actually take your full IP address. They didn't obfuscate anything. They said, hey, this IP address watches these shows at these times with these devices. And they would go and sell that en masse to anyone who asked. They did this without asking people. This was not in the original terms of use. This was a clear invasion of privacy. And yeah, I would stay away from Vizio for the time being. Or maybe not, because thanks to this lawsuit, they're under heavy scrutiny for the moment.
I mean, Vizio was my default tell people what to buy because they were cheap TVs that were pretty good. I mean, if you don't know how TVs work, 3 companies make panels. I think Samsung makes a panel, Panasonic makes a panel, and a third party makes a panel. And then they sell it to all those names that you've never heard about. And Vizio is the largest of the no names that you haven't heard about. And for the most part, they're pretty good. Other than that, I mean, I would go to Samsung, but they're expensive. But guess what? Samsung was spying on you before also. So, I mean, if you're looking at TVs, I don't know where to go now.
Yeah, if my general advice, I'm lucky I found a really nice dumb TV that threw the salesperson for a loop. Because I saw this thing, it was like in the corner, covered in dust, completely forgotten by the salespeople. And I approached it, and this guy's like, yeah, they're old stuff. We're trying to get rid of some stock. And I was like, that's just a dumb TV. It doesn't have any smart stuff in it, no apps or anything. The guy's like, yeah, I know. I mean, it's pretty cheap, but it doesn't have any of that stuff. I said, yes, I will take that one. Totally threw him for a loop.
Just remember, smart TVs are not all that smart. I mean,
Yeah.
think about what it is. They're putting the Netflix app, they're putting the Amazon Prime app, they're putting the Yahoo stuff, and whoever's paying them top dollar to be their suite of choice, and they never get updated. Never, ever, ever. And the UI is awful. Your best bet, and I guess we can't do this now, is to not buy a smart TV, buy a dumb TV, buy $100 Roku or Apple TV or Chromecast or Amazon Fire TV, and just use that, because you're not using the Flickr app. And Flickr's basically dead at this point, unfortunately. Sad. But like Picasa Web, I think we have. Picasa's dead. So, you have relics of an old time. Roku gets updated. You have all these other stuff. You have a nice remote. You have everything that works. Or you use your PS4, your Xbox One, all of those. The smart TV is just not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. If you can find a dumb TV or a big, giant, dumb monitor, you are way better to invest in one of those than a smart TV. But it is getting harder.
I mean, a monitor will work. It's going to give you really good picture. And remember, you need a QSAM tuner built into the TV and an antenna to get it. But remember, your cable boxes do everything that you're going to need to do. So if you're only going to use the cable box from your cable provider, then you don't need the special internals. Or if you don't even have cable anyway, just get a Roku box and a really nice big monitor and go from there.
Yeah, I love my Roku. My Chromecast sees some use. I like that. I don't have an Apple TV, but I hear good things.
So I want to get, and I know Tom's waiting, in my minivan that I just got, I have a flip down screen and an HDMI port. So I'm thinking we're going to Chromecast right there. So everyone in the back is going to go Chromecast right there. And it has worked. I have gotten it. I just got to get the wires tucked in and everything else. And the only thing you can't do is you can't have downloadable content. I mean, so you're streaming data, which is a royal pain, and 4G at 65 miles an hour is a little tough. But
still, though, that's pretty cool.
I mean, winter is coming live in the minivan.
Let's see. Our next news item is, if you have the WebEx browser extension installed, get rid of it immediately. Our favorite mega super hacker, Tavis of Google's Project Zero, has uncovered some horrible vulnerabilities that result in these are like top tier vulnerabilities that can wreck you if you go to the wrong website. Remote code execution from the WebEx browser extension. He reported it. It hit Project Zero. Cisco, who owns WebEx, issued a fix. It really wasn't a good fix. They went back and forth like 3 or 4 times, and it's probably fixed now, but it basically relies on the security of the WebEx website, and if that's compromised at all, it could probably launch some nasty stuff on your computer. So it's not just the WebEx software, it's specifically the browser extension. So yeah, get rid of that.
And most of us have it because at some point you had to do some webinar on your computer doing something. You installed it. It's probably hidden there. It's not meant to be malicious. A lot of companies do use it. But with this legacy software, if you're not using it, you may get burned because you're not thinking about updating it. You're just not using it. But I would bet that most people probably have WebEx in some form or another on their computer.
Yeah, so just make sure you're not running the browser extension, and you should be good. And the browser extension just auto launches WebEx anyway, which isn't hard to begin with. So, and if you don't need it, if you used it for that one meeting that one time, you just get rid of it.
So
it's not going to hurt.
Yeah. Next story, Tom. Well, I want to talk about some terrorist squirrels.
Terrorist squirrels. So, as we know, our nation's power grid is under attack constantly, every day, by terrorist squirrels. This website, and this is old news, but I got reminded of this last night at a security meeting. if you go to the website cybersquirrel1.com, there's a nice Google map with a bunch of pinpoints on it from various animals successfully disrupting America's power grid by laying across wires, getting into transformers, chewing on stuff. These are acts of terrorism on our power grid to date, and this is updated as of 2 days ago, a month ago. The Squirrels have had 879 successful terrorist attacks on America's power grid. Humans, the lowly human, has only had 3 successful attacks on America's power grid, being beaten by birds, snakes, raccoons, rats, martins, beavers, and 13 successful jellyfish attacks. Which I want to know how that works. How does a jellyfish take down a transformer or something?
Maybe it's the secret underground internet cables.
Wait, that's fantastic.
I mean, it's well, the backstory is that the news sensationalized some substation in Vermont that had not an attack, not a vulnerability, but something simultaneously happened where a squirrel hit the lines at the same time they realized that their some sort of computer was on the internet. It was something weird like that. And they said, "Oh, the terrorists are coming." And turns out, no, a squirrel just ate the power lines.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount that. We shouldn't harden these systems. We shouldn't analyze or audit these systems, because we absolutely should. But at the same time, when it comes to power grids, when it comes to really anything security related, having your fears and your analysis based in reality will always be a good thing, right? The vast majority of problems are not caused by hackers or terrorists attacking the power grid. The vast majority of problems are squirrels chewing on things. And if we can guard against the squirrels, we might be able to save some power downtime.
I'm looking for jellyfish. You can't search by jellyfish, though. It's either squirrels or other animals.
Yeah.
Which
So
bothers me.
I see 2 in Ohio here, or 2 in Hawaii. Chicken causes major power outage. Wow. And there's links to news stories. These are great. And then a rat zapped power for over 600 people on this island.
And the other thing you got to worry about that no one really talks about is the sharks eating the data cables that go underneath the thing, underneath the continent. So if you don't know, and my students didn't know this, between the continents there are cables that supply internet that interconnect the continents, and every once in a while a shark does eat or break through the cable. They're constantly monitoring it. So if something goes out, that's probably what's going on. A shark did it. I mean, there have been terrorist attacks where some terrorists cut the cable in Egypt through the Red Sea a couple times. But again, animals are more likely to do anything else. I'm looking for the human.
Yeah. I wonder about that. I know there was an issue in California where people shot at a transformer, which is probably one of those. But yeah, it just goes to show that, when you're discussing security events, think about your threat model, right? Are you trying to guard against the guy who's going to sniff traffic in Starbucks, or are you trying to guard against the NSA? And you can guard against both. It's just one's going to be a little bit more realistic than the other.
And while we're talking about, I don't want to call this fake news. I rather call this misreporting because journalists are not security people. And to get a security person to also be a journalist, that intersection is fairly difficult. So people are trying to explain it in a way that most Americans understand and put their spin on it. It gets to be very difficult. So when you hear about this, you have to take a step back and say, what's really going on? And here's a perfect example of exactly that. I'm looking for more. I don't see. Yeah, it's all, let's see, search. Yeah, I'm still looking for the jellyfish. I don't know if we're going to find it here. Unknown. I don't know what unknown is, but.
Yeah. So if you have used a credit card at Arby's, I would watch your statements pretty closely. It's not every restaurant, but their point of sale systems at some restaurants were hit with credit card skimming malware. So watch your credit card statements. This is a public breach, so people do know about it. Banks do know about it. And if you are getting a new card, that might be why. So just be a little bit more vigilant. And this stuff does happen, unfortunately.
I don't know if you're familiar with how the credit card systems work. My other friend is. I got to ask him. Somebody said, one of my students said that you can pull out the chip of one of the credit cards and insert it into another one. So you could take a chip of a stolen credit card and stick it into yours, and because most people, and you can socially engineer the fact that most people are not looking for tape and whatever on the credit card, that it will still work. But I'm not sure about that.
Well, the chips, at least the way they're implemented in America, don't really offer too much in the way of security. They're better than swiping, but not by much. And the reason is the way it's been configured is it's not chip and pin, it's chip and signature in a lot of cases. At least that's kind of the bottom of the barrel setting that a lot of people have optioned for. But there have been successful attacks where someone has shimmed in, their own super thin chip on top of their credit card and glued it in place. And the only thing that custom shim chip does is it just says, yes, the pin's good. Because in some of these systems, the way they're configured is they don't ask the bank if the pin is correct. When you put in the pin, it would ask the card itself, hey, is this pin correct? And the only thing this shim chip does is it says, yep, you're good. That pin is proper. Go ahead and authorize the charge, which is definitely not the way to build security into your system.
My friend works for a payment processing plant, and he said he has machines that can just bypass the chip and do all this other stuff, and they're readily available. I mean, they're not easy to get, but they're not impossible. I mean, and it's just scary to know that they're saying it's supposed to be way more secure, and then all of a sudden nothing happens. We might as well just go back to just swipe and signature.
Yeah, I don't know why there's such a big fight about chip and pin. Typing in a pin is really not that hard. We should all be doing it. But even today, there are, places I shop where they've got, tape over the chip insert section. They say, oh, no, just swipe it, because they elected to not use the chip at all. And that's very common where I'm at. So, this probably isn't big news. It's sort of enterprising news. But if you have F5 devices that are kind of load balancers, they do a whole lot of things, but load balancers is really what their big ticket items are. There was a vulnerability, so update your firmware.
So did you see this Gmail phishing hack?
I did. This is awesome. I
did not fall for it, like, at all. I looked at this and I said, maybe because they gave it under this is a phishing hack, so I was much, much more concerned with it. But I did not fall for it, but I can see how people can.
I would have done it. I would have at least clicked the first image. I probably wouldn't have logged in, but I definitely would have clicked the image. And actually, this hack in particular has made me very wary about clicking literally anything. Like, I'll get like Google Groups messages like, so-and-so wants to join this announcement group. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, because they want to figure out, meeting notes and stuff. And I will actually log into Google Groups to add them manually through the website instead of clicking the click here to approve link, just because it's made me very paranoid, which is probably a healthy thing.
I mean, there's a couple of issues. First, I don't know if you've noticed, Google switched the lock icon from green to just saying secure.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying. They cannot, and I fault all of them for this. You told everyone to look in the lock for the upper left-hand corner. We got that. Now some of them are green in the lock for extended validation, and nobody tells you what that means or how to get them. So now some sites are just green locks, some likes have no lock, some of them have big green bars, and now it's saying secure, now it's saying not secure. So my Hangout window says secure, but this Twitter link that I got, and I know Twitter is secure, doesn't say secure on it. Is it secure? I have no idea. And I think it's causing a lot of problems for people trying to access Google. And not just Google, but any other site. Amazon is very famous for doing they are very secure, but not letting people know that they're secure. And it just it bothers me. So you see this, it looks legit. Everything looks there. You get your account, and I can see a lot of people falling for it.
Yeah. So the way this hack works, because if you can't get to the link, and we'll throw this link in the show notes so you can see it. But there is an email that comes from Gmail, and it's got what looks like a Google Drive attachment, which looks different than normal attachments. And it says, hey, I've shared this document with you. Go ahead and click on this. And you think, because we're all used to using Google Drive and Google Mail, I'll just click this, go to Drive, and you do, and it takes you to a Google login page, or what appears to be a Google login page. What it does is it actually front loads some JavaScript in the background, but you can't really see it in the address bar. You can sort of see it. It is different. It's using a data link instead of just a standard HTTP link. So it is there, but they've put a whole bunch of spaces in their URL and pushed the nasty JavaScript code that's encoded off the edge of the screen. So you have to really have a big browser to see that, and you definitely wouldn't see it on mobile. But what that does is it scrapes the username and password and ships it off to a remote server somewhere. And because you clicked a link and it takes you to a Google login page, it's not really weird, right? Google asks me to log in all the time. I'll be logged into Gmail and stuff. I'll click my bookmark for Google Drive, and it'll say, hey, go ahead and put in your password again, just for fun. Just because we're bored and we want you to put in your password again. All right, fine, Google. I'm a little annoyed, but this is normal. They do that a lot. So this doesn't look like a hack at first until all your stuff gets jacked.
And this is why when we talk about two-factor, I never click the box that says remember this device. It's really annoying. I constantly have to take out my phone, and I could easily just say remember this device, but you know what? It's worth just putting it in each single time.
Yeah, a lot of these phishing attacks, will get around two-factor authentication. Not necessarily get around it, but it can ask for two-factor and ship that to the attacker. Now they've only got
in the middle about that.
Yeah, they've only got 60 seconds to use it, right? But if they've got an automated system in the back end saying, hey, log in and add like an API key or something to this account, then they've still got your account and they've gone through two-factor because you handed it to them. So two-factor does help a whole lot, but it's not a silver bullet.
So I need you to help me grade something. Ready for the security story?
Yes.
It's not on here. Student, excuse me. Sorry. Hopefully I can edit that out. For my class, I had students create something for me that helps teenagers. So a kid said, hey, I made this at a hackathon. Instead, it calculates your GPA for you. You go to the website that gives you your grades. You put in, or you go to our website. You put in your credentials. It goes to the parent's screen. It gets your grades and presents it to you. Here, try it. I give the kid a 0, and he goes, why are you giving me a 0? I said, you man in the middle me. And I'm not that stupid. And they go, what are you talking about? I said, you asked me to put my password in there. How do I know you're doing it securely? Well, we're using GitHub Pages. And I go, you don't get it. I'm not going to give you a 0, but it's a really dumb project. I'm sorry. like you put this thing online, and I understand you're trying to help people out, but what you just did is you man in the middle of them. If you're going to do it, convince the company to put OAuth to do exactly this, but that's not what you did.
It depends on the project, then. It depends on the class. If the class is build something nicely, securely that people can use and you could put on a portfolio, okay. If the class is try to hack your classmates and or teacher, A+, you man in the middle at everyone. Congratulations. But it all depends on the intent.
And I said, look, it sounds good, but if you can't run these numbers through Excel or on a calculator, I mean, like I get it. We like to make apps that recreate the web UI view, but I mean, what do we need this for? And I get it. They made it for a hackathon, and the idea was good. I'll give them a noble thing, but they should find a way to either implement some sort of OAuth to do this, to log them in through there, or find another way to do it. Like decentral. Well, you have to put your grades in and it'll do it for you, whatever it is. So after every report card, you take a pic. How about you take a picture of the report card and then OCR it or something like that?
That would work.
So, but yeah, I'm not giving you my credentials as a teacher to this, so you can get the keys to my kingdom and go from there.
So Wire, if anyone listening has used the Wire messaging app, it's yet another secure messaging app because, we just don't have enough. Has actually gotten a security audit, a code audit done, and they've posted the results publicly. Now, I'm going to tell you about the results, and then I'm going to go on a rant for a little bit. Wire, their security results, I'm going to totally butcher this name, Kudelski Security and X41. Basically, the bottom line says, yes, we did find some issues. There's nothing critical. It's nothing that will, destroy the app or ruin anyone's security, but it is stuff that probably should be fixed up to make things a bit more secure. Stuff like, not zeroing out memory when they probably should be, or, there's some buffer overreads and stuff, or pre-key length checking, or certain error checks, little things that should be fixed up, but it's not going to destroy the world if it gets out. I just want to harp on when a company, person, application developer, whatever, when they get a public security audit or a pen test, and someone comes back and they say, hey, here's a list of problems, don't hate on that company. Even if the assessment comes back and says, you're terrible, you're awful, get out of this business. And I know we've been guilty of that too. When we say such and such is awful, it's usually after a breach. But we shouldn't be harping on these people when they go out and they search for the problems that they know they have, or they don't know they have, right? Wire could have assumed that they were the most perfect app in the world. I'm sure they didn't, right? They've got nuanced developers on the team who have been making software, and they know there's bugs. But when these reports come out, when these assessments come out and they say there's problems, we should give those companies a hand. We should, applaud them for going out and actually, putting their money where their mouth is, and, trying to figure out how to get more secure and how to get better at what they do, and B, making this stuff public, because that's kind of a gutsy move, right? I don't come out. I know I've done things insecurely. I do things insecurely occasionally, probably more than occasionally, but I don't post it all over Twitter and say, guys, look, I used a really crappy password on a really crappy temporary server. But these companies do. These companies are putting their faults out there for us to see, us to learn from, and to be completely transparent about their business. Is Wire the most secure app in the world? Probably not. Are they good? Sure. Am I interested in switching all my stuff over to them? Not right now, but it's good to have options. But the fact that they did get an audit and they post it publicly is admirable. More companies should do that.
Look, it is beautiful looking. So if you want to check it out, it is very nice to look at. It works really well. There's a desktop client. You have to log into it, so it's web, unlike WhatsApp that does the magic with your phone, which I like better. But to me, it's okay. It's another app. This is good, but what's the target audience? The target audience are the same people that already have Signal, that have WhatsApp, that have Allo, that have Wire, have Wicker, and all these other apps. So are we getting message fatigue again, but with the security apps? My mother is still not going to use it. So who am I really trying to communicate with? And that's my problem. But I don't want to stop people who are on it. So if this is the only app you're going to use, I'm going to install it. I'll do whatever you want, but I'm going to stick right now with Signal and WhatsApp and then go from there.
And speaking of WhatsApp, just some last minute news that came out today. As well as turning on security notifications. And I haven't seen the update yet for my particular Android app, but it is coming. You can set a They call it two-factor. It's sort of two-factor, a two-factor authentication for WhatsApp. Now, what that means is that, your current devices will keep working as they always have. But if someone tries to add a new device to WhatsApp, to your account, it's going to require a 6-digit PIN code. And if you don't have the PIN code, it's not going to let you add the device. That said, you should probably remember it or you'll get locked out. It's how these things are supposed to work. So throw it in your favorite password manager and keep it, but please enable this when you can. It doesn't take that much effort to go and clone a SIM card and spoof someone's number and take over a WhatsApp account. And if someone does that, they can read all your messages, right? So this adds a little bit more security to WhatsApp, to the account. It's a good thing.
And here we thought we wouldn't have enough news. We really wanted to talk about the Keybase chat client, and I guess we're just going to have to push that to next week. So
it'll give us a little bit more time to hack on it too.
All this news came out over the last 3 days.
Yeah,
which is amazing. So we had nothing for a week or so, and then all of a sudden, all this came out. But anyway, with that said, we're out of time, so we're gonna have to say goodbye, everybody.
See you, everyone.
Bye.